Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid, and welcome back to another morning ramble. This morning, I'm going to read you a sample of my writing. We've had requests for this occasionally, off and on. A lot of you have asked, where can you get my books? And of course, the same place you can get any book, Amazon. A lot of you have gone there and done that. I don't link out there because this channel is about everything except selling books and marketing and linking, being an e-beggar with Patreon and GoFundMe and all those things. So I decided, for those of you who are curious, I'm going to actually just read you some actual prose. And this is a piece of prose. It's written in Crayon. I guess since I'm the Crayon guy on YouTube, it's only appropriate, but it's very short. Okay. This is I guess today's topic it could be phrased as, should I stop rambling and get therapy, or maybe keep your pills because I've found the perfect kind of therapy for me. Some good intentioned people, I think, are concerned that thousands of you a day, are getting entertainment by watching a mentally ill person go crazy on the internet. So I can appreciate that. I've been told I'm a wonderful candidate for therapy. I'm 45 years old, and I was being told I was a wonderful candidate for therapy for probably 44 of those 45 years. I've found my form of therapy that works best for me. Keep your pills, because what I've found is that addiction does not work for me, good for me whatsoever. So anyway, I'm going to read you my prose, and then I'm going to burn it after I record this, because I want to do it safely. This is a story called Prose for P. It's a story about aging, coming to terms with aging, realizing we're getting older. The story behind the story is, I wrote this story for somebody that I thought might be a friend of mine, but I've become hesitant, and this is where my form of therapy, I think, works better than the pills. And I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not giving psychological advice. I'm not qualified to do either. But what I've learned in my time, through my life, through my experiences, that if we simply pay attention, we learn to spot trends, we learn to spot signs, and if we don't leap, if we look before we leap just a little bit longer than we did the last time we leapt, we might protect ourselves. So anyway, there was this individual about my age. I thought maybe we could become friends, but I looked a little longer before I leapt, and I found that this person was really one of those taker types, like a Mr. J. You know, they want to be your friend if there's something they can gain from it. They pretty much ignore you until they see something that they can gain, and then they want to be your friends. So I spotted it in time, so I didn't leap. Now, had I been on one of the numerous pills that I have been on in the past, I probably would have leapt, and then I'd be crying the blues to some headshrinker, wondering, oh, but you gave me this pill, and I'm paying you $250 an hour once a week for this kind of stuff to not happen anymore, and it happened again. Well, whatever, the haze is gone, and I'm not putting it back, and I can think for myself, and I learn from my past. And continuing to do the same thing over and over and expecting different results, that, my friend, is the definition of insanity. And I don't need an EDD or a PhD to know that, because I've done it enough times. So here it is, Prose for P. This person, we're about the same age. We were talking about getting old. This was weighing on my mind. It does occasionally, not so much, because writing helps me come to terms with things. So here it is, with no further ado, a sample of my writing that you don't have to pay for. You'll see you would have wasted your money anyway. And this, I free flow this, okay? But here we go. Prose for P. A man running, temples gray, face wrinkle free. Alas, there's hope for me. He blows right by. What's this I see? His hair is frosted, and he's younger than me. I'm older than I realize. Woe is me. FML. Now I'm going to burn it, and that emotion has been released. I was sitting in a truck one day thinking about aging, and I saw this runner coming down the road, and he was flying, and he didn't have a shirt on, and he was ripped, but his hair was gray, and I thought, man, you know, this guy, he's motivating me. He's older than me. Look at all that gray hair. Here he comes. And I said, you know what? They say aging's not for wimps. I'm not a wimp. This guy's proof of that. And he comes blowing by, and I realized the guy had colored his hair. He was like 28, but he just thought it was cool to have silver hair. And I was like, ugh. So anyway, that's the story behind that story. Now, with that said, I'm going to tell you guys something I've told you before. I'm going to say it again. I love each and every one of you who are here watching this. I'm glad I found you and that you found me because you're my kind of crazy. Folks, I've tried. I've tried to fit in. I've tried to walk along the webs of the matrix. I don't want any part of it. You know, somebody told me about the woolly worm the other day. I shouldn't say that they turn into dragons because everyone knows they don't turn into dragons. Of course everyone knows they don't turn into dragons. They turn into eagles. Okay? Somebody asked once, I guess I commented when we were doing taste test time, I asked my son what he thought the food tasted like. He gave me his opinion. He said what he thought. And I said, I think it tastes like a Friday afternoon at about 3:30, doesn't it? And he laughed and I laughed and we smiled and agreed. And if you don't know what 3:30 on a Friday afternoon tastes like, you've never lived. Well, I don't want to say you've never lived because that's judgmental. 3:30 on a Friday afternoon tastes very special to me because I know that my son's off from school for the weekend and I get him for the next 2.5 days and I don't have to share him with the meat grinder. Anyway, I want to give a shout out to one of my former coworkers, one of my favorite former coworkers there at the post office, Shaniqua. Yesterday, my beautiful bride and our darling son and I were in town and we ran into Shaniqua. She was out there delivering mail as she does 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Used to be 7, but that problem has been dealt with. But still, it was good to see her. Shout out to everybody I used to work with. Shaniqua, when she never met my wife Dearly, but she seemed just as excited to see Dearly as she did me when we ran into her, and she seemed almost as familiar with Dearly. And I thought that was strange, and I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm talking about her. But Shaniqua said, she said, oh, I watch your shows. I love your cooking videos. I watch you guys every day. And so I was kind of thinking about this morning when I thought about this topic and loving you guys because you're my kind of crazy. And if I were to stop doing these morning rambles because I went to get therapy so that I could maybe, I'm sorry, Roger's distracting me. I guess I wake him up. I'm the guy that wakes a rooster up so he can wake up the rest of the world. But once he gets going, and I have a tendency to, I don't know, maybe there's a pill for that so I can control my thoughts better. Well, the good news is, fast forward, I'm not going to do it. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Guys, there might be a one-size-fits-all with hand gloves and socks, but there's no one-size-fits-all for life. We all, you know, I talk about the matrix, I talk about programming. They say this is the way we're supposed to do it. There's a very rigid, structured path in which I guess we're supposed to follow to be considered whatever that word normal is. And this is to burn that prose later. I usually don't read it before I burn it. I mean, sometimes I'll write something just so powerful that it releases so much emotion, or at least puts into words as best I can how I feel. And when I do that and I do it well and that feeling's there, I burn it. I don't publish it, I burn it. Why? Because it was about me. It wasn't about, and it was for me. And this is kind of selfish, but this is just kind of how I do things. It's what's important. I spent years being told how I should feel about particular things. I spent years being told how I should deal with the feelings of particular things. I found that if I feel a certain way, that's perfectly okay. I found that if there's a certain way I deal with that certain or particular feeling that doesn't hurt me and doesn't harm others, it's okay as well. Like this prose where I threw it that I'm going to burn. I'm not going to burn it in here in the woodshed beside a pile of wood and set my house on fire and set this whole end of the county on fire. I'm going to take it out into the field in a safe place. I'm going to burn it, and I'm going to have all those emotions of getting older, being able to put it in words, realizing that the inevitable is upon me. And I'll watch it go up in smoke. I'm going to stomp it out, and I'll pour some water on it. I'm going to go on with life. And I'm not going to develop an addiction or a weekly bill of $250 in doing that. So that's just kind of what works for me. I just thought I'd share it with you today because that's kind of what this is about. But programming, I don't care if I'm not doing it the way I'm supposed to be doing it, or if I'm doing it the way in which we're taught that we're supposed to do it. You know, somebody mentioned in the comments yesterday about they were reading my book, Isle of Capri. They recommended it to others about how my writing style in that book is much like these morning rambles. It is, it's true. I told a ghost story last night and we uploaded it, and I think I'm going to do that again this evening. And I think I'm going to tell the story about my experience while out Capri hunting. A Capri, K-A-P-R-E. That is the Philippines version of Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Okay, so I was stuck on this island for many years. I was down and out. I'd gotten there because of some very tough times in life, some bad decisions and some addictions, and not the best decision making in the world. I got out of there and I got back here by way of making better decisions, getting clean, getting sober, and allowing lessons to take. Not continuing to do the same things over and over, expecting different results. Somebody recently mentioned in the comments they saw, the Crayon video with the neighbor, Mr. J. They saw me save his cows, and now they think the next big step. And this person claimed they had been a counselor for 20 years at the VA. If they did, that's wonderful. But they said now the next big step would be to go build a friendship with Mr. J. No matter how that works out. Is not important. What's important is me taking that big step and trying to rebuild that friendship. Seriously, I guess they didn't watch that third video of how once we know someone's toxic, once we know there is nothing to gain or to benefit us from a relationship with that toxic person other than setting ourselves back as far as our recovery from avoiding toxic relationships goes, why on earth would we do something such as that? And as I mentioned in that video, that's like saying, well, you've been sober for a number of years now, which I have been. It would be a very good big step for you to go into a bar and just sit at that bar and have a soft drink. Just go in there and order a Diet Coke and talk to the people. This would be a very big step for you. Now, don't drink. Don't buy a beer, but go into that bar and sit at that bar and have a soft drink. Seriously? No. Nope, not going to do it. I'll write my prose, I'll crinkle it up, and I'll set it on fire. And I'll say that woolly worms turn into dragons, even though everybody knows they turn into eagles. And I'll do it on social media. I mean, that's my takeaway on that. So I was in the Philippines, and that's where, life. The classroom of life is where I got my therapy, and I learned these lessons, and they're better than any pill I'd ever been prescribed. So I'm in the Philippines. I love to read, I love to write. The paranormal is a particular interest in that regard, and I thought, I'm here, I'm stuck, let's make the most of this. So I started learning everything I could about Filipino folklore, urban legend, paranormal. They call it aswang. I learned about the Sigbin, the Chinook, the White Lady, all these things, and I put it all together in a book called Isle of Capri. And you know what? It's pretty freaking spooky, and it's pretty daggone good. I think it's one of the best things I ever wrote. Fortunately, I didn't burn that one. I actually did publish that. But there was a time when Dearly, my beautiful bride, and I decided we would go capri hunting. And we did, and we spent the night on a particular island, and some events took place which kind of inspired that entire novel. Tonight, I'm going to go to my campground, and I'm going to tell that story about our experience with the capri. And I'm going to upload it to YouTube, and I'm going to publish it. And if you don't like ghost stories, and if you're not into that kind of thing, don't watch it. If you think that I'm some mentally disturbed individual who's just kind of rambling in an unhealthy way with a bunch of rubbish, don't watch the videos. But if you're my kind of crazy and you like what you hear here and you love these kinds of stories and you get just a little bit out of something, you know what? We have a subscriber named Jory. I believe she lives in Detroit. She comments quite regularly. Yesterday, she commented that a few months back or a couple months ago, she listened to one of my videos, and Jory likes to write, and she's talking about children's books, and she likes to paint, I believe it is. She's an artist. She said she listened to me going on in one of my rambles, turned it off, and wrote the best thing she feels she ever wrote. You know what? If taking a pill and paying a Headshrinker $250 a week takes away my ability to reach out there through time and space and the webs of the internet and do that for just one person, I don't want those pills, and I'm not going to pay the shrink. You know what life's about? It's about doing the best we can. It's about surviving to the best of our abilities. It's about taking the hand we've been dealt, playing the game the best we can. And if we can reach out there and help someone else in doing that, that's wonderful. And if we have that ability to reach out there and help one or maybe even more than that, that's even more wonderful. And to take that away because the people who walk that rigid structured line of what's supposedly normal, well, me personally, I think that would be very selfish. And I did that for a time when I was writing under pen names and I was creating fake news and I wasn't putting myself out there and I wasn't talking about real experiences. The whole time I said, you know what, Kevin, you're being selfish. You may have been given a gift. Maybe it's just the gift of gab. But if you're not using it, you're being really kind of selfish. And so here I am, another morning ramble. I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning. I'm going to give you another one. I love you for being here because you're my kind of crazy. And this world we live in is crazier than we are. We're the ones that have figured that out. We're the ones who know not to take the purple pill or the red. We know to stay away from all of them. And again, not giving medical advice, not giving psychological advice. I'm not qualified to do either. But I do know what works for me. So thanks for being here with me again this morning. We'll see you for more next time from here at Homesteading Off the Grid.